We are unmuted to let you know. It says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. We're just double checking and make sure that the live stream started from Zoom to Facebook. Please prepare any questions, concerns, or comments that you have for Councilmember Johnson. We'll take some in the beginning and throughout the conversation today. Any updates you would like? And for those on Zoom, know that your face is live on Facebook. So, Jay, yes, right.
Let me check my hair.
Right, Jay. Hair.
Mine seems to be working better on Zoom than Facebook. Do you prefer one over the other?
And for those on Zoom, know that your face is live on. The letter right there. Miney, you're fine. You can say wherever feature you want.
Cool. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the September District 1 breakfast. Again, all virtual. We had an opportunity to reach out to everyone who's serving on the board appointed by this position representing District 1, and just wanted to give them an opportunity to share what's going on their board, some challenges they may have had, some issues that you all need to know about, and also maybe what's coming down the pipe. So wanted to give them an opportunity. Before that happens, just want to acknowledge yesterday being 9/11. We remember that 19 years ago. I didn't share the same story I always do, but I still remember being in Miss Myers' class at Northeast Magnet and seeing the TV out. So I was excited because normally when that TV's out, you don't have a lot of work to do. And then when we came into class and actually saw what was going on, it began to sink in what was happening in this country. So just want to, recognize the lives lost. Thank all the first responders that acted then and still are first responders today that ran into danger while many of the citizens were running away from it. With that, we do have some updates I will give later, some awesome things going on in the city of Wichita. With the virtuals, we don't have all the reports that we normally do from fire and police. But we'll get that at the district advisory board meeting coming up. So definitely tune in to that. And with that, I will go ahead and kick it over to our first person.
So there's no particular order for how you give your city board update. It's raise your hand and tag your it. So who would like to go first?
Okay. I'm gonna read mine. I sent something to you, Camila and Brandon, with pictures, and I believe I can do this in 5 minutes. My name is Jane Burns. I am so grateful that Brandon Johnson appointed me to the Wichita Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board. For many years, I've been an advocate for sort of active transportation, outdoor independence, for health, among many reasons, but for health. But for the last couple of years, I have become concerned about safety for people outside of cars. So here's what I'm gonna say. This is kind of news for me, and I ask your forbearance that it's not good news that I'm reporting. A week ago Friday in the Wichita Eagle, there was a report of a pedestrian death who was the 21st traffic-related fatality this year, including 10 out-of-vehicle deaths, 10 out-of-car events, deaths since July 4th. That's 10 deaths in 2 months, 21 throughout Wichita this year. The police spokesperson reported that speed has been a factor in more than half of the wrecks. And the story continued that about the bicyclist on south near Seneca, and a pedestrian at 21st North and Wellington. At least they were all hit and runs. They were all, at least 2 of the 3 vehicles were very large, an SUV and a van. So look up that factual story. I sent 2 pictures of maps from a master's student, a master's graduate at the KU School of Medicine, Population Health, of crashes that over the 11 years, 2008 to 2018, there were an average of 165 crashes every year for those 11 years, and about 3% of them resulted in death. So that math looks like before 2020, before 2019, there were 5 deaths out of cars, at the hands of drivers of cars every year. So this is a sudden increase to 21 in 2020, 21 deaths in 2020. This decade, vehicles are getting larger and larger. 70% of vehicle sales now are SUVs, pickups. So vehicles are bigger and can go faster and are more lethal, therefore. So during COVID, we know that there are fewer vehicles, but they're going faster. One of the horrors I learned from a webinar last Tuesday, just last week, is that deaths are disproportionately people of color and of seniors. And I have some screenshots on what I sent you, Brandon and Camila, and what I'm going to give the Bike Ped Advisory Board at their meeting this Monday. Last weekend, it was strictly coincidence, I became aware of a series on nextdoor.org that more than 50 really angry or frightened residents protested about cars speeding west from Hillside down their quiet neighborhood. There's a quick trip there that the neighborhood association and the DAB voted against, I hear, but the city authorized anyway. So that neighborhood is still unhappy about that 8 to 10 years ago. But the thing is, there are no sidewalks on those streets that go west of Hillside, Orm, Gilbert, Morris. So folks walking with babies and dogs and wheelchairs walk in the street. And with COVID, there's just more walking. There's just more bicycling. There are more people outside of cars during COVID for de-stressing, whether some folks can't fix their cars or buy gas, for plenty of reasons. There are more people on the streets, fewer cars, more people, faster car speeds. So just that's the setup. The summary is that in Wichita, we're way ahead of fatalities. Looks to me like, and I haven't confirmed all that with the police department, but that's what the public stuff says to me.
Hey, excuse me, can I stop and ask, can you share kind of the flow of your meeting and the different topics?
So that's going to be an interruption to the Bike Ped Advisory Board. They like to talk about bicycles. The city and the state like to talk about bike paths because that's a way to get folks out of cars way. In COVID, people are in cars ways. So that's my summary. I'm proposing, like a national study, I quote, that speed kills and that we should lower speeds, car speeds, vehicle speeds, especially in neighborhoods, but also on arterials. According to the map, most of those deaths are on arterials. We're driving really fast. And I say that as an impatient driver myself. So thank you very much. I'm sorry to give sort of upcoming news instead of past news, but I hope that that can become an outcry, that we really need slower speeds. We can't overlook 3 out-of-car deaths, 2 pedestrians and a bicyclist in 5 days. We can't overlook 10 deaths in 2 months. We can't do that. That would be beyond my ability to overlook those. We must react. Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilman Johnson, for appointing me to the Bike Ped Advisory Board, even though I don't say what everybody wants me to say.
No, and that's what we love about Jane, real quick, if I can interject. Have you had any meetings virtually or socially distanced for your board since?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's all on, it's not Zoom, it's GoToMeeting, but yeah, or go to something.
So you have been to some meetings and you are pressing forward with some bike ped initiatives and what you're talking.
They mostly listen. They're listeners. And they're good. They're all good people. They are all good people. So lots of us listen to city news. So, and there is news. Yeah, there's more walkability in one of those crash corridors that Amanda, the map maker, the crash summarizer, did very elaborately. One of those short corridors is being adjusted. We've known that there are gazillions of the biggest number of crashes over those last 11 years have been along Broadway. Huge, 200 crashes just on Broadway in those 11 years. She presented that information to the Bike Ped Advisory Board, and we've had consultant reports as well. So there's moderate progress, moderate. So thank you very much. What else do I need to say or do? Tell me whatever else I need to say or do.
That was really it, unless other folks have questions for you. I haven't seen any on Facebook.
Nothing in the chat.
I don't want to answer any questions. I want other people to ask questions. I want other people to push this observation that's just mine. At this time, when I was getting ready for it, I thought, wait a minute, here's a really ugly trend that I'm personally seeing. So I hate to be the one that points stuff out. I hate that. Everybody else, would you point it out?
I think that's why we love you, Jane. You always keep us grounded in what's going on. Really appreciate that. And for everybody else watching, Jane's awesome. So we had a pilot we were working on over here around Atwater, looking at crosswalks and walkability for the young people here getting to their resources. So Atwater Neighborhood Resource Center, Health Corps Clinic, banks, the library on 21st Street, and Jane has always talked about walkability. So I asked her to help identify a few of the crosswalks, and she actually came up with a plan from Hillside to 135. I think all the way up to 25th Street, down to Central. I've got a lot of data there, and definitely happy that Jane is serving the city of Wichita and always keeping me informed on walkability issues and bikeability issues. So Jane, I definitely appreciate appreciate you and thank you for the update.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, who's up next? That's on board.
Good morning, Councilman Johnson. This is Carl Stovall.
Hey, Carl.
My report is not nearly as elaborate as Jane's, but we have just finished up our cultural funding recommendations for 2021, and they're scheduled to be, the city's scheduled to accept those recommendations Tuesday morning at the council meeting, I understand. One of our concerns this year, because of the pandemic and such that's going on, was how would the funding impact us for this year? But we were pleased that we got the money that we did get, which was nearly $750,000 to dole out to worthwhile cultural and arts organizations. So we held our, interestingly enough, though, we held our Q&A session with those that applied with social distancing, and it was quite nice the way they had Century 2 set up for us. The other thing that we were concerned, and so we came up, well, actually the city manager's office came up with a couple of additional questions that were not on the original application, and that is, what have you done in light of the pandemic? And I'm paraphrasing that question. What have you done? And what do you see? What changes are you making as a result of the pandemic? And most organizations, because they were given these additional 2 questions ahead of time, had some very good responses. Some were a little disappointing, but for the most part, everybody did a good job in that. And so we're just we've been on hiatus for a couple of months now. We haven't met. And so meetings are scheduled to resume in October, and we'll start the planning for the 2022 year. And
if you don't mind, if I could stop and read your the title of your committee, Cultural Funding Committee is a subcommittee of the Arts Council Incorporated. The committee is charged with reviewing grant applications and making funding recommendations to the City Council on various City of Wichita cultural arts grant applications. And I shared it on the screen for people to see.
okay, thank you very much.
What do you think the community should know about this committee? Because behind the scenes, people say, well, where's the money going? Who gets to decide where the money goes? So how do you feel your involvement is helping?
I think my involvement is helping because I've been able to talk to some of the groups on my own. Now, there's certain things, of course, that I am not at liberty to say, in terms of, I've had some groups ask me, well, how does the deliberations actually take place and how do we decide? And while I can't share all of that with them, I do tell them that our findings and our recommendations are available to the public, because all of our meetings are open meetings in accordance with City of Wichita and State of Kansas open meeting laws. So we have, again, people can come and sit in on meetings, or they can review some of our notes. But I think more importantly than that is I've been trying to really encourage some of the organizations that I know that could benefit to apply. And as well as some individual artists that I know that could and would benefit. But that's been the biggest challenge for me in the community, is to get people to get out and get an application and fill it out. And I could even send them to some grant writers that would help them write the grants if they choose to do it.
Would it be helpful? Well, this is a kind of a task for me and you. The next time an application becomes available, could you remember to reach out to us, Councilmember Johnson and myself, for us to help advertise that so we can put that push out through our social media streams?
Absolutely. And I will tell you that District 1 is not the only community that that has few number of applicants. There are others as well. And so we've, as a committee over the last few years, have been trying to brainstorm on how we can get the word out just to the city of Wichita at large to encourage more applicants.
That's good to hear. We also have a new communications director with the city of Wichita overall, so I think that could be another stream. And another idea is maybe host it at the mayor's news briefing. So Carl, as you go back to your meeting this fall, please let them know that you have support from us behind the scenes to push that out.
Okay, sure, absolutely.
Carl, can you mention a few of the organizations you all fund just for the public to understand what you do?
I'll start with some of our large organizations are Exploration Place, of course. Now the City of Library, we don't fund the City of Library, but we do fund their foundation that assists the City of Wichita Public Library. We have Wichita Grand Opera. We have young music for theater for young people. And then some of the smaller organizations that we host are like, I can't try and think of her name, but she has a small dance company. And she was one that's applied and has received some grant money as a result.
We have a Facebook question of when do you think the application will be available for 2020?
For 2022?
I'm sorry, 2022.
They will be available. They always go online around the early December timeframe.
So 2021, December of 2021 or 2020?
Actually, December of 2020 for the 2022 year. See, we're a year ahead. Right now, we just finished up all the grants for the 2021 allocation. So in December, the grants will go out for the 2022 applications.
Thank you.
I don't see anything else on social media, so definitely thank you, Carl, for joining in and talking about what you do on the committee, and for everyone else. I officially met Carl. I think I had seen Carl a couple times before I was elected, but 2018 really kind of broke down cultural funding and the need to get the word out and to make sure that organizations knew about it and had ample opportunity to apply, and also to make sure that the process is fair and equitable. And I've appreciated Carl's insight and help on that. So again, thank you, Carl.
Brandon, if I might add one little thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have been doing, and I am a champion since I have been on this committee, and understanding how the grant writing, the grant review process and all that takes place, is encouraging those people who have maybe a skewed idea that it only works for certain groups, because it works for everybody when your application meets the criteria and you put the work in on the application. Great case in point for some small organizations you asked me about early was the Kansas African American Museum, and also the singers that Gerald Norwood, I'm trying to think of their name.
Arise?
Arise, yes. Arise has been also another group that's received funding.
Awesome. We'll make sure we get that word out too, so we can help expand that opportunity for other organizations as well.
Okay, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
Who's up next?
Janet Radicon, would you like to go? Let's see. Okay, Lonnie, commercial break. What advisory board meetings have you attended or watched throughout this year and you think people should be more involved in? Lonnie Wright.
Did Lonnie hear you?
I'm not sure. Lonnie, can you unmute? Lonnie Wright? He's there. Anyone else on the Zoom call concerned about anything?
Well, I think many of them are interesting. Certainly the Planning Commission has a big impact on us.
Did Lonnie hear you?
I'm not sure. Lonnie, can you unmute? Lonnie Wright?
Yes, let's see. I'm on both Facebook and Zoom. But now I'm back over on
You have to
Facebook.
He's there.
Can you hear me?
Turn your Facebook off, please. Anyone else on the Zoom call
Can you
concerned
hear
about
me?
anything?
I think many of them are interesting. Has a big impact.
Lonnie, I had to mute you because you need to cut off your Facebook stream. It's interfering with your Zoom.
There's a 1 minute delay on Facebook, so you gotta mute Facebook.
Okay, I turned Facebook off. I'm on Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yep, it's perfect.
Can you start over with what you were saying?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you share your experience again?
I think our most important meetings that we're having now, are our council meetings, but also our county commission meetings. It's, kind of upsetting. I feel embarrassed for the council members that they have to go through so much. And I think there should be some consideration to limiting public comment to 3 minutes instead of 5 when there's so many people saying the same thing. I think, Mayor Longwell would do those sometimes by making a motion. But we're having so much repetition that are saying the same thing. I wish the council maybe would consider limiting it to 3.
And can you go back and share your comment on the planning commission report and how important that is to you?
Well, the Planning Commission is really the second most powerful citizen board that we have after the council. This is where they really balance the interests of the neighbors with private property owners. And there's a balancing that goes on there, just as how Jane was referring to the Quick Trip. So that changes in different situations, and it reflects, I think, some of the values of our community. One of the things that we're going through is just a few years ago, we went through our comprehensive plan, which citizens felt like we should more, instead of expanding, we should develop the infill and use support and redo some of the vacant properties and stuff that we have in. But this has developed into a lot of controversy because to make it, it's often cheaper to build outside than it is inside. So we're getting a lot of patio or slab homes that people are objecting to. So just like we were having some interest a couple years ago about tiny homes, now we're having concerns about how do we infill. So I think that's an interesting dialogue that's being played out for us in our planning commission.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Lonnie. Lonnie is Wichita's most informed citizen, regularly attending as many district advisory board meetings and other advisory boards as possible. So you can always count on Lonnie to know what's going on around Wichita. So I appreciate that, definitely. Do we have any other board members that want to jump in and talk about what's going on there?
Or any questions for Councilmember Johnson in between?
Just a disclaimer, all difficult questions will go to Camila. I will answer questions such as, how is the weather? What do you think about the sun coming out? Things like that.
So I feel like I failed my bike ped advisory board. I should say that they they're working on 9th and McLean. That's outside District 1. They're hearing from hearing about that open air ICT. I don't know why they're talking about that, but open air ICT has to do with eating outdoors, and that very quick permit that the city council enabled for restaurants to get outdoor seating. I love that. I've always loved eating outside, and so maybe the world's catching up with me again. And there may be some administrative changes, it sounds like. So they have a wonderful agenda, you know, in addition to my bummer that I'll deliver early on. So thank you. I'll turn off my sound again. Somebody else's turn.
Thanks, Jane.
Carl, you can hear us on Facebook. There's a question: does the organization that applies or the artist that applies for the grant, do they have to have 501c3 status?
Yes, they do. I just got a text from a person asking, so I'm responding to them on text also. It's along the same lines, but yes, that's one of the requirements. They have to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Councilmember Johnson, we have a Facebook question of, did we hear any updates from the district and how they've been involved in this year?
I have it. It's late on.
Not sure.
I'll give it a second. Alejo, are you? All right, doesn't look like it. So talked to Alejo quite a bit. We actually have a call that we'll have today. I'm supposed to give him a call yesterday, but I had a pretty packed schedule. So we've talked about everything from the keepers in the parks to projects going on like the revitalization of the Chester Lewis Reflection Park. He's been all over that. At one point this year, back in June, there was some citizen push to revisit the Confederate Memorial. And we talked about that a little bit, and kind of gave him my thoughts on it and told him that citizens may or may not reach out to him, in which he was getting prepared for that with the rest of the park board. We've talked about our plans for revitalization of McAdams Park. He was instrumental in helping with the renaming of McAdams Pool to Charles F. McAfee Pool. We talked about some other projects going on. Our conversation later will be more about what's going on with Edgemoor, updates on the push for revitalization of McAdams. And we'll probably also be talking about Linwood, because Linwood is a rec center that I wanted to see some additional programming at. They're doing a great job, but with the question right now of the library that's there, I've had some thoughts I shared with Alejo about that, but also I want to push, unfortunately due to COVID, but I wanted to get out into the neighborhood and talk to the neighborhood around there to see what else they want to see at the rec center as well, because neighborhood input is important to me. So we will be talking about all of those things. Alejo continues to keep me in the loop of what's going on with the park board and upcoming things. So I guess in short, that's what he's been involved with, and or we've been involved with. And again, making sure that we talk about everything. And the biggest thing probably coming up, and probably why he called, is golf. So right now there's opportunities going on with our golf system to look at First Tee potentially helping run that. There's some other organizations involved that have some questions and concerns. So that's something we'll be working on probably for the next couple of weeks to work through as a council, but also work through with the park board. First Tee is a wonderful organization that seeks to get young people involved in golf, sometimes free and every time cheap. And it's an opportunity for folks to learn a different sport. And they have been really helpful with McDonald, and also are leasing a portion of McDonald, investing more than $1 million into that area. And again, focused on getting young people, and especially low income young people, out on the golf course. So we'll be talking through that. There was another issue there with, I think, a gas line. We talked about that and worked out a solution there. So we have talked about that. We have talked about potentially revamping football fields, but the key here with that is we are looking towards master planning, which takes a while. I know folks get tired of plans, but those master plans allow us to have a visionary guide to what we're doing, the cost of whatever that plan is, and then that'll help us actually get dollars towards that. So we are actually talking about that. I re-engaged a potential opportunity to help speed that up. So we'll see how that goes here in the next couple of weeks as we start that process. Good question.
Thanks. Carl, we have a follow-up question for you. Is there a counterpart to your group at the county? Like, is there art? Do you know if there's an arts council with the county?
No, not that I'm aware of.
If we don't, do we have any other board members on?
So there's a phone number, and I can't tell who that phone number is, and then there's a Janet's iPad, and then there's a Wichita neighbor, so, and then Lonnie Barnes is on too, so that's Zoom wise.
Okay. So we have or had a couple of DAB members on Facebook, but not on the call. So I can kind of run through what some of these boards do. Some of the, I guess, more known boards. So District Advisory Board is DAB. And that advisory board has 10 appointed members and 1 youth member. And the District Advisory Board receives staffing reports. I've encouraged all of the DAB members to share that amongst their networks, whether it's social media, in person, in the neighborhood. They also give their thoughts. Their job is to advise the council member. So when zoning comes up, sometimes before MAPC, also sometimes after, they let me know what they think. They've been focused on making sure they get as much community and neighborhood input as possible. DAB has helped identify a few issues with group homes that we're going to try to address this fall. COVID makes it a little difficult because we wanted to have a meeting with a state senator and a state rep back in April. And as you know, we couldn't do it back then. So, but they've been really good about advising on that and giving some real thought and engaging the community. So that's their job. They serve 1-year terms. Each year I reach out to the entire District Advisory Board to see if they want to stay on or not. We talk about, goals and objectives on the board, and I really appreciate having that perspective, and we've got different perspectives and backgrounds on that board to really get a good decision to come out and good discussion. So that's District Advisory Board. We actually do have a couple openings. I will be making 1 appointment Tuesday. We'll still have 2 open positions, preferably from the southern part of the district. I would like more representation there. When I say southern part, I really mean south of Kellogg. We've got a small section there in Schweider and Linwood. But anywhere in that area, potentially even downtown will work.
Hyde.
And Hyde. So looking for a representation there. If you are interested, I see Camila pulled up the screen. You can go to wichita.gov and apply. Once you apply those applications, you'll have an application on there. You attach your resume. It asks you a few questions about why you want to serve and some of your experience. Those go to Sasha. Sasha is our administrative assistant with the city, and then she sends that to the council member whose district you reside in. So that's District Advisory Board. It's a great board. We meet monthly. We started doing training. Training is fun. When we don't have COVID, we have good food during the training and good discussion. And we talk about everything MAPC does as far as zoning. They get the zoning code. We get to learn that, to understand the impact on the community. So that part has been great.
If you don't mind, Councilmember Johnson, we could go back to the top of the website and talk about Animal Control Advisory Board, your appointee there.
So Animal Control Advisory Board, that board has been a little controversial over the last couple of years with the trap, neuter, release program. That came from that board. A lot of folks thought the council pushed that. It was actually that board that came up with some ideas around that. That's a board that I've kind of hoped will get more into the neighborhood issues I hear about, which is pit bulls running loose or dog fighting, malnourished animals that are just kind of left outside on the chain. Like those are the things that I hear about from animal control, the law enforcement side. But I don't always hear it addressed from the Animal Control Advisory Board. So our appointee there is Tijuana Hardwell. She's a new appointee. Ellen Kerner stepped down this year. So Tijuana started this year. And just looking again to get more neighborhood input on that. One thing that I think everybody hears about on the news from time to time, I hear about quite a bit, is when the U.S. Post Office puts a notice out that they're going to stop delivering mail and they're going to put a mailbox somewhere a block or 2 away from your house, and citizens get upset about that. And oftentimes it's because of loose dogs or potential dog attacks on the postal worker. I'd like that board to start looking more at what we can do to address that. That's still a post office decision, but if we can do more to control loose animals and keep them in yards and stop them from digging out or jumping over fences, that helps out in that situation. So that's that board. They meet once a month. Looks like everybody is appointed on that board, so they'll serve a full term. And again, all of these meetings are open to the public. They're all virtual, so you can tune in and see.
Bicycle and Ped Board was represented by Jane. She's already spoken. Board of Parks, there's a question on Facebook about Park Board when it comes to, has there been any discussion for community input on football fields?
For the McAdams,
Like upgrading.
yeah, McAdams Field, it was initially, we'll redo it in 2018. We joined in a couple efforts to get some survey work done with Horizontes, and they modified their survey and they knocked doors in the McAdams neighborhood as well as east of McAdams. That neighborhood association is not Power. That's south of Power. There is no association over there. So that one is inactive. It's been inactive for a while, but they knocked doors over there. I believe it was 2,000 or 3,000 doors. Yeah. So we did get input there. Input was not just on the field, though, it was for the whole master plan. So questions like, what do you want to see in this park? How do you envision it? What changes can we make? How can we upgrade this in a way that's inviting for the community? Things like that. So we have that data. We'll probably go back out and specifically in each area where there's a park, talk to that neighborhood to see what they're looking at. And then when you look at sports, we'll probably reach out to the sporting leagues that we do have. So baseball, of course, League 42 is seeing a lot of upgrades to the baseball facilities there. When it comes to the football league, once we get to a point where I think city-wise in the CIP, we can do more, there may be more engagement. Aside from that, there'll be one-on-one engagement as I find resources to get these projects done.
Okay. I skipped this, but then you didn't appoint anybody to Board of Electoral Appeals, did you?
No, that's a mayoral appointment.
Okay. And so is the Board of Code and Standards and Appeals?
Yep.
The next,
Board of Park Commissioners, I talked about that with Alejo. I guess in Lonnie's language, they would be the third most powerful board because they actually control property. There are parks in Wichita where decisions can be made about how that park operates, or if there is potential to develop parkland, it falls under the authority of the park board and not the city council. There's other parks that came in after that ordinance, and I forget the year, where city council has final say, but the park board does control a lot of that. And one thing about parks, the parks department and the park board that people don't realize, they also deal with cemeteries in the city of Wichita. That was new for me. I didn't realize that, but they do deal with that. And fun fact, District 1 has the most parks in the city of Wichita. So there's a lot going on in our city.
then the Business Improvement District for Douglas Design District.
So the Business Improvement District is appointed by the mayor. In this case, this effort, still a little bit of controversy around it. So it was formed, I think last year. I apologize for my timelines. COVID has completely thrown me off this year. But in 2018, members of the Douglas Design District had approached us about the streetscape project as well as a potential business improvement district. And seeing that there was a lot of confusion around both, I pushed to separate those conversations so we could focus, one, on the streetscape, and then secondly on the bid. We worked through the streetscape over a period of, 8 months, came up with some solutions that the majority agreed was good for Douglas. And then we talked about the business improvement district. If you recall, we had a few struggles with how you count and verify businesses in the city of Wichita. There were some tools we don't have that other communities who have this do have. And in this was led by the Douglas Design District, which is, a couple hundred businesses and folks who really want to see the continued improvement of Douglas. And we went through I believe a 6-month process on that, and our current vice mayor joined in that because District 6 is also represented on Douglas. That group would oversee how dollars raised are spent and work with the Douglas Design District. Right now, it's not completely in effect, so it wouldn't start until January of 21 as far as funding collections. But right now there's a protest. So there was a protest to go try to overturn this. Every year on the bid, there's an opportunity to get 51% of the businesses to say they don't want it anymore, and then the council would be forced to remove that ordinance. At this point, that group had 2 opportunities. One was once we voted on it, they had 45 days, which was earlier this year. And then if they can't successfully overturn it, we should know this week or next week, this coming week or the week after, then they'd have another opportunity in January to overturn that. So staff is working with them right now to verify. There was about 26 businesses that we need to verify are legitimately there. And if so, then it's my belief. So I don't have the official answer yet, but if those 26 are verified, it's my belief that that bid would be overturned at that point. So then this board will go away because there wouldn't be a need for it. A couple questions from Facebook. Is it possible to force repeat dog offenders to take dog training classes, kind of like when kids go to the foster care system? Their parents frequently have to take parenting classes. That's a great question. That's something that I would like to see the Animal Control Advisory Board talk about. That's something we can do. If you want to talk directly to folks, I mean, we extended an opportunity today. These are always better in person. We did this last year, and we had 20 folks here that you could talk to directly. But everyone's email address is available on these sites if you want to reach out to them directly. So you can reach out to Tijuana and talk about that. That's something that can be brought up during the meeting to see if there's thoughts or ideas around what they can do about that. But basically, that's one thing I've always pushed for is as we get our neighborhood association strengthened, making sure they can work with Animal Control Advisory Board on training to identify signs of dog fighting, signs of neglected animals. And then that way we've got more eyes on it to help out.
There's some Facebook comments, and I'm just gonna go in the order in which I see them. They're not pertaining to what you just said.
I read Krista's.
You read Krista's. Did you read Lonnie's about anything about the diversity board? Have you heard anything, any updates on the diversity board from the mayor established?
We, Lonnie, I don't know if you saw this. We just had our meeting Thursday morning, which I believe will be the final before all of the presentations happen. So the work is complete from the initial advisory board. The recommendation is to create an official board on the site that Camila shared, the wichita.gov site. That board would have, at this point, before council looks at it and talks about it, 17 members. Each council member will be able to appoint one person, the mayor, one person, and then the mayor has the authority to appoint people to fill identified areas, so youth, NAACP, stuff like that. That report, I don't know if it's online, but that video is online to talk about that. October the 27th will be the city council workshop on that board, where this will be presented to the council, and you'll be able to see the dialogue we have about thoughts about it, if there are any concerns, and then next steps. So if council kind of gives the green light that it's okay, then it will come before the council for a vote to make it an official board, which would then be subject to appointments like every other board, and then they'd be able to operate. So authority-wise, they would give the recommendations on policy changes that are necessary. They won't be able to just administratively do it, but they will be able to highlight those things, talk to the council about that, make those recommendations. I haven't really seen the council push back on strong recommendations as far as policy when it's rooted in data, and this board would be doing that. One of the recommendations for the board is to have a dedicated staff person, which, as you know, with our budget, is kind of hard right now, but Bob's actually kind of trying to work out some solutions on that, and he'll be talking more to us about that going forward. So that is coming up.
So I'm gonna bounce over to a question. Is there ever a chance to share all the playgrounds of USD 259? And I like to share that in collaborative meetings that we've had, the concern of some playgrounds unfortunately have to be locked up when school is out of session due to vandalism. And so we're really encouraging people to use our public parks instead. Any additional comments you have?
Yeah, there were a couple playgrounds that had equipment burned and some things broken. And so I understand why those will be locked up. But again, we've got a lot of neighborhood parks in our community. It's not always the same. You know, when you think about right now, Spade's fenced in. I don't think it's locked, but down the street from Spade is Spruce Park. That's a city park. And there's playground equipment, basketball court. So we have parks throughout the community. My predecessor, Levanta, was even able to help get one created in the northern part by Gordon Parks through HUD. There's a park there that's fenced in, basketball courts, playground equipment, stuff like that. So.
And Murdoch Park is near Spade too.
Yep, and Murdoch Park. So we've got them spaced out. Some of them, you know, it might be a couple more blocks to walk, but shout out to Jane if, you know, make sure all of that's safe. You can get there on the bike or walk there.
Do city parks not get vandalized? Oh, yes, they do. It's just the concept of preserving kind of the budget for USD 259 and them closing the parks when school is out of session versus the park hours are longer is the best way I could explain it.
Yeah, we do have vandalism too. It's something that we hope to see less of, but I mean, if you remember last year, there were windows broken out at Edgemoor. This year, one of the keepers was tagged. We've had some other stuff, but you know, we just keep pushing through and trying to, you know, make sure everyone has access.
The Facebook question about census, do you know, is it true that we're the highest rate of completing the census?
That's a great question. I haven't looked at the website in the last week or so to see. A lot of the concerns I had early on were kind of where we are right now, or where Atwater's at. Parts of Northeast Wichita were reporting at about 42%, which was concerning for me. And the area around Plainview was reporting around 35%, which was concerning. I think those numbers are up now. That census does have workers going out door to door, talking to people, trying to get that complete. So I think those numbers are going up. My hope, though, is just that everybody continues to make sure that they take it, that friends and family take it, and then that way we can see those numbers go up. I mean, it's going to be so important. You know, it's always important to take the census, but with COVID right now and all these budget issues that we're facing, every person that doesn't take it is impacting thousands of dollars to the city, and that's thousands per individual, not just, you know, a little bit of money. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars that could be impacted if we don't take that census, and it funds everything that we really need. I mean, you know, the things I care about, it's the neighborhood stuff, it's this resource center, it's making sure we have transit access to all parts of the city and that we can improve it. And if we don't take that census, we're hurting those opportunities. So I hope it's 92.5. I hope we can get closer to 100%, but it's going to be so important going forward that we count everybody.
I like to go back to Facebook. There's a cool comment on here. A resident named Andrew said there's about 130 parks and they went to all of them in 69 days in the summer of 2018.
Andrew's awesome. Andrew is the owner of Reverie.
Oh,
130 parks. I didn't know it was 130 for sure, but that's awesome. That's a good idea for families. You know, identify those parks and intentionally try to get there to each one. That's pretty cool.
Jane perked up. Did you have a comment or something else to share?
I've been to lots, but not 130 like Andy. In fact, I should mention, hey, this is a Walker comment. Walktober is coming up. Bike Walk Wichita, the Health and Wellness Coalition, they've been pushing Walktober for some time. Wednesday walks, and probably there will be some Saturday morning walks as well. Those group walks are kind of fun, walking and talking and seeing different parks and different neighborhoods. There's going to be one downtown, one maybe around the Kansas African American Museum. Anyway, Walktober.
Awesome. That's a great plug. I've been trying to do more walking myself.
We'll stay out of the way of cars.
I'll
Stay
try.
way away.
The Community Service Block Grant Review Committee is currently some openings. And you have appointed, there's some general openings and you've appointed Tommy.
Yeah, I appointed Tommy Benford to that, and
Janet
he
Raddick.
represents the public, and then Janet Raddick now represents the private. And then there's a position that you kind of have to run for and get votes for. And that, I believe, will be open next week.
Yes, we will be sending that out in the next newsletter.
So I just got my update on that. So that will be out. That opportunity is great. So I just talked about the census and funding that comes in, and that's one of the groups that kind of oversees it and reads the grants that come in, helps share the word that the applications are out there, and again, try to get the resources to the organizations that need it. And that's a great opportunity to do that. Mr. Benford has been doing a great job there. Again, representing, making sure that these dollars that are supposed to go into low-income efforts actually go there. Of course, Janet Raddick has been doing a wonderful job as the elected position and as the private. She's the president of McAdams Neighborhood Association and WIN, Wichita Independent Neighborhood. So she does a great job there as well. There's been a few people to ask me already about that elected position, so we're sharing information, and I look forward to seeing who gets on there, and again, making sure the funds get into the places that they need to.
Cool. Next, Cultural Funding Committee, which we've heard from Carl Stovall already. Design Council.
That is a mayoral appointment. I can't remember who he has appointed or reappointed. I do know that Ella Bacchus is on there. She helped with the design of 9th Street, the 9th Street improvement. So she's been wonderful. There's a few projects that we've had go before Design Council that we're trying to get done. I think most people know I'm trying to get some upgrades over at Maya Angelou, and we have one opportunity happen already. Go there, and Ella was great on giving some advice and guidance to the artist that is helping work through that.
Armando's on that board.
And Armando Menjares.
Yeah.
Horizontes, so the biggest mural in North America. He that was the project that he led, him and some other wonderful artists, but he's on Design Council as well. So again, it's great to see the diversity and experience that they bring to that board.
District 1 Advisory Board, we've had that overview and those 6 boards, and then Historic Preservation Board. Janice Rich.
Yeah, Historic Preservation Board, Janice Rich, I think most people, if you don't know about them, probably found out about them in regard to Century 2. So they voted to make it a historical site, facility, and the library, yeah. And that recommendation went on to the state board that did the same, and I think they're waiting on federal, but they look at the historic nature of things in the city before the project happened. So Meads Corner, the Historic Preservation Board voted to say that that was historic in nature and should be preserved. Ultimately, the majority of the council disagreed and voted to approve what's going up now. But they look at the historic nature of things, and Janice has really educated me on a few things that I didn't know about with projects coming up that were historic and gave the history of it. So that board is a wealth of knowledge and definitely a great board.
Library board.
Library board is awesome. We've got two great members representing District 1, Lamont Anderson and Tadana Neal. Tadana also serves on the District Advisory Board. They are actually in leadership on there, both of them. So Lamont is first vice president. Tadana is second vice president. And they've done a really great job. They bring balance from some of the issues, whether it was programming at the library or the library improvement plans going on right now. They both have been instrumental in helping push some of these upgrades at the Maya Angelou Branch Library. But that board is really important. It's, in Lonnie's terms, maybe the fourth most powerful. They oversee our libraries and they have more authority than most people think. So the council doesn't run the libraries. We do hire the library director, but they make decisions about programming, all of that through the library board. We just kind of hold the purse strings. So that's a great board, one that I would encourage people to get with. Both Lamont and Tadana have done some great programming at Maya Angelou and trying to do more. They both are also working with me on Linwood. So we do have two libraries. Actually, we have three libraries because we have Rockwell as well over at Edgemoor. But yeah, great board. I think those are 2-year terms. And they both have said they want to continue serving. So they've been doing a great job.
Didn't know there was a mechanical board.
Yeah, that's not my point.
MAPC.
So MAPC sounds like Lonnie's second favorite outside of us on the council. MAPC, Metro Area Planning Commission. I always get that at MAPD and MABPD all mixed up. Yeah. But the Planning Commission, as Lonnie said earlier, looks at zoning in the city. So if you're wanting to build houses and it's not residential, you need to get that rezoned. You go before the committee, you've got to meet certain criteria. Wichita is laxed on a few things. You don't have to submit site plans. You can just kind of say you want to rezone it and that's it. That's been a point of frustration for the community. But there are developers who kind of caught on and want to be more collaborative with the neighborhoods and actually do submit some form of site plan, at least to the DAB, to talk about what they're doing. Representing District 1 on that board is Terrell Florence. He's one of the Council of Elders, used to work in the Office of Central Inspection, which is what it was before MABPD. Planning department, let's leave it at that. But yeah, he's been great. He's been instrumental in working on the future plans of development in the city of Wichita, places for people. And that means a whole lot because Places for People looks at building nodes of population centers within neighborhoods, making things more walkable and bikeable and not just car driven. So he has been instrumental on that. Again, brings a wealth of knowledge from working there before and has served District 1 well. That next one is a mayor appointment.
Police and Fire Retirement Board of Trustees.
that's Tracy, right?
Yes.
So police retirement, board of trustees, they look at the financial status of those investments for our police and fire.
Retires.
When they retire, they make sure that that's healthy and in good standing. I think that and our other retirement board are actually doing really well right now. They've made some really good decisions. I've heard great things about Tracy providing some great information to that board and guidance. Due to her profession, she works in finance. So that board is one I don't often hear about because it's doing well. So I don't have a whole lot to report out other than it's doing really well for our folks, our first responders, our police and fire, and all the service they gave. They have some really good investments to make sure that their retirement is what they deserve. So that's good. As Camila goes to the next board, when I highlight something's a mayoral appointment, that doesn't mean that the mayor doesn't talk to the council about it. It just means they have the appointing authority. In years past, we've kind of sometimes recommended people that the mayor should appoint. The mayor will kind of weigh that versus whomever they might be thinking about and then make that appointment. This year, I don't think Mayor Whipple may have made a few mayoral appointments. But aside from that, we haven't gotten to some of those, just a long list of stuff. And he's been open to, if you want to recommend somebody, he'll weigh that versus whomever he might be thinking as well.
Give me a moment. I came out of. Totally clicked out of where I was.
Police and fire retirement.
Here we go.
While I'm going through these, if you all have questions, please keep those in mind. Once I get done talking about the boards, love to do some Q&A before I give my updates and we end. And it can be over things that are not board related. So if you've got any City of Wichita questions or comments or concerns, I'd be interested to hear those too when we get done with this.
Okay, so I'm coming back here. So you don't appoint anyone to the county, Sedgwick County Community Corrections Advisory Board, then Team Justice, there's another municipal improvement board. Stormwater? You might be on stormwater. Tourism, yeah.
No.
Transit.
Transit, I believe we have an opening on transit. No, I feel that. Never mind. Shauna Stevens.
Yep, Shauna's.
So the Transit Advisory Board works with our transit director, Mike Tan, on transit and transportation. And they have been working really well with trying to, especially during COVID, make our service more accessible to folks who may even have concerns about getting on a public bus. And so they've been doing really well on that. Shauna is new. I just appointed her, I think, two months ago. Time is flying. Transit is looking at how do we improve service. So there's a lot of kind of education right now and conversation, not a whole lot of decision-making, because we are trying to prep for, again, how do we continue to improve the service? How do we make it more accessible? There are areas that we've received complaints about. How do we improve those? And then how do we get to a city that maybe in clusters, and this is just me speaking, I don't think this is a goal of theirs here, but how do we get to clusters of grid system for the bus? So citywide, I found out will cost a whole lot of money. So I backed off of that, but there are probably areas of town where you can have small grids that won't be a huge additional cost. So I've shared those thoughts with Shauna before making the appointment, but Shauna comes from the East Coast where there are robust transit systems, and she brings a wealth of knowledge that I think will be good for the Transit Advisory Board. So, and those are 2-year appointments, right?
Doesn't specify on this right here. Yes, it does say 2-year, 2020 to 2022, correct.
I wondered in 2018 if I would ever remember this stuff.
And Airport Advisory Board,
Karen Page. Airport Advisory Board really kind of oversees and works with Victor White, who's the director of airports, and they look at development on the airport. They look at new opportunities coming. So you just heard Southwest is flying direct to Denver, I believe. They help work through those things and those challenges. We've had some potential development opportunities at Jabara, so they oversee Jabara as well. But they work through that. Karen has been wonderful because she also understands international trade. There's some potential opportunities coming to our city that Karen is instrumental in, and a few more if we can get through this COVID stuff that may come in the coming years that we're trying to work through. So that board is really important, and Karen has served this district well. She's actually a holdover from my predecessor. After having a conversation with her, I just knew, she would be great to continue on. So it's been great.
Citizen Review Board,
That is appointed by the city manager, and it's not district specific.
and a Retirement Trustee Board,
That one is vacant for District 1. If there's anybody out there who likes finance, who wants to serve on another board, that again, that financial situation is really good right now, really strong. I think these are some of the strongest retirement funds in the region. So if there is someone out there who has a finance background, who would love to kind of help out in that way, definitely go to the website and apply. There's a way that you can put a comment that you heard this from me and would like me to appoint you if you don't live in District 1. If you do live in District 1, it'll come directly to me, but you don't have to live in District 1 for me to appoint you to this board.
can you can't see the Zoom chat, can you? Okay, there's Trustee Board, you don't have there. Hold on, let's see, we have the County Board, Zoning and Appeals. That's wrapped up in MAPC.
Yep.
And then Sedgwick County Accessory Advisory Board. And that's all, folks.
So those are the appointments that I make, or the council member makes, either annually or biannually. Again, those appointments tend to begin April 1st, end March 31st. And so starting in January, I'll start sending out my emails to everyone that I've appointed to see if their interest is still there to serve. If so, and we've seen some good work, we reappoint them. And if not, then I thank them for serving the city of Wichita. Let's see, I don't see anything else on Facebook. Thank you, Luanda, for serving. Lonnie, that's a good point. I'll talk to our team about that. I think the website is probably that way just because it's a city website and didn't want to confuse folks, but it might be a simple fix to add in the county appointees as well and just highlight next to them that it's county. So I'll talk to our team about that.
Is that Lonnie's question?
Yeah, cool.
So in the Zoom chat, there was a question, a comment about 17th Street corridor, this, the current construction taking place between I-35 and 17th to Broadway. 17th and Hillside to Oliver has already been updated. Is there a time plan for 17th between the two? So that would be Hillside to I-35? Some of that, like Hamilton Grove and
I have to
17th?
go get the specifics. We have talked about that. But I can't remember right off the top of my head, the time frame on that. And I don't know if it will be soon, because part of the conversation I did have with staff was my concern about flooding on 17th Street. And if we redo the roads, I don't want to redo roads and not redo the flood system. That flooding piece is very expensive, but it's a waste of taxpayer dollars to me to redo the road and make it look really nice, and we still have flooding, and then we have to come back in later and redo the system. So I have asked for, if not, I will, an estimate on redoing the flood system that goes into the canal, as well as the roads, and we'll see where that goes. We didn't see that type of flooding west of 17th Street, so it wasn't that big of an issue, but there were some federal dollars to help get that going. If you have not been to that though, west of I-35 on 17th, you should. It looks great. The way they redid that, they incorporated the artwork. It was a news article, I think 2 years ago, but the way they incorporated the baseball into the crosswalk, the other designs coming, the median, it's great. So I'm hopeful that if you haven't been there, you can swing by there and check it out.
You have a DAB member on Facebook saying, thanks for the opportunity to serve on DAB 1. It is a great opportunity to be engaged. That's Ms. LaWanda DeShazer.
Shout her out.
I think we've gotten through all of our chat questions, comments.
Krista asked about the email all. I don't think that's an option on the website.
Let me check. As we're checking, can you do commercial break for some of the flyers?
Yeah. So we have new opportunities for veterans. So all veterans can ride city transit for free, all routes. That I believe started already.
Yes.
So you just need to bring some, you won't be able to see this well, but this is available for you to find. Some identification, but again, all our veterans can ride public transit for free. That's been a great opportunity and excited about. I heard about it before it was completely done, but again, all of our vets can ride for free. And then we have a few select routes that are free for everyone. Route 21A and 202A. So these serve the Dirkskin Fine Arts Center, Weedman Hall. This is all at Wichita State.
And off campus.
And off campus. So you get to there, it goes up to the Metroplex. So if you live along that area, you can ride those routes for free. Here's a map of that. This is all available at wichitatransit.org if you want to go look more right now or later. But you can use that for free on those routes. Again, all veterans ride free. Another cool thing, I shared this yesterday. I found this out. So freshmen in USD 259, actually just freshmen.
Yes.
Yeah, just freshmen can go to the YMCA. This is called the Fresh Connect. Good with naming, I'm terrible with naming. And it's a free program for, it is Wichita Public High School freshmen. And that's to assist with the transition to high school and online learning. It will be held on Monday, the 21st of September through Friday, the 19th of December, 2020. And the schedule is 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. online learning, supervision, tutoring, and support. And 3 to 4, you have physical and social activities.
Only at the WSU YMCA campus.
Yep. on campus at Wichita State, free Wi-Fi. So if you are like me and annoyed sometimes with your Wi-Fi at home, when everybody's on it and it gets spotty, you can have your freshmen go up to the YMCA on campus, Steve Clark branch, free Wi-Fi, and then there'll be support staff there. So that's great.
And it's a cool opportunity behind the scenes, if I could say, to have a classroom setting for those who are transitioning from middle school to high school, and less distractions at home.
Yep. And it's on campus. So now you're also getting your freshmen thinking about college and hopefully staying here in Wichita because we need our young talent. So hopefully that happens. Second to last announcement today, if you know anybody in need here in an hour and a half over at the Coke parking lot, 21st and Hillside, Wichita State, there's a free food giveaway. So Pastor Pierce, if you've been watching all of our District 1 breakfast, the one who always joked about us not having breakfast, and I think twice sent me and Camila breakfast. He loves giving away food. They have trucks coming in. The last time he did it, I think he gave away food to 180 families, or maybe a little more. They brought in about 25,000 pounds of food. This is a similar type effort today between 12:30 and 3. Again, that's at Wichita State University, Coke Arena parking lot, 21st and Hillside. So they will pop your trunk, no touch. Volunteers will place the items in your car, first come, first serve until it's gone. Again, this is free and you can drive up and get some food. So if you know anybody in need, please share that with them. I've shared it on social media. If you can, find my page, Councilman Brandon Johnson, or just share that you just heard it. We have flyers, I think, on the District 1 page as well.
We'll reshare right now.
It's getting reshared right now, but want to get the word out. He is providing an awesome service. It's a blessing to the community. And today's not the only one. So today is at Wichita State. On the 15th, it will be at St. Mark Cathedral, Kojic, which is at 1018 Delrose, which is about 10th and Oliver. Yeah, and then again on the 18th, it'll be back at Wichita State University. So definitely share that. It's a great opportunity to give folks who needed some food. Again, these are still trying times as we work on our recovery from the pandemic. Then the last thing I have, unless there's no questions, is we have masks now at our resource center.
All of them.
Atwater, Evergreen, and Colvin. So you get the cloth one. You remember that might have been talked about on Tuesday. Our resource centers actually have cloth reusable masks, quality masks, and they all come with some information about assistance programs that it's some really good information. So if you don't have a mask, visit a resource center, get one, and also get some great information to help out. Things like minor home repair, home improvement loan programs, lead safe, Wichita-based lead-based paint hazard remediation programs, rental rehabilitation loan programs. So there are folks who have rentals that have reached out to me that we're looking for assistance. There is a rental rehabilitation loan program. You can get that information just by coming to get a mask. And of course, other services like Center of Hope, Salvation Army, and United Way. So these are free. If you don't have one, we'll make sure you get one.
Or if you like a second one.
Or if you like a second one for another family member, please come get it. And again, some great information there for you. Other than that, I don't have any other printed updates, but you all might be aware the City Council did extend the mask ordinance on Tuesday. With that, we kind of built in an off-ramp that never really was the City Council's purview. But per the emergency situation back in July, we did create an ordinance for the City of Wichita, followed by the county health order, which did the same. Right now, the City Council extended the same mask ordinance, didn't alter it any outside. We added in 2 caveats that will make our ordinance expire, but that does not impact the county's order. You still would have that if ours expires. And that is cases get down below 5%. And we go from the yellow space we're in to green. If those 2 things happen, our ordinance will expire. There will be a great deal of effort and public notification on that when that happens. But again, should that happen before October 21st, you still have the county health order, which is essentially the same thing. So just because a city ordinance would expire would not mean that the county health order would do the same. And then the county going forward will decide on the health order. But we did add those two things in, but as of today, we still are under a mask ordinance, which means if you are in a facility, can't social distance, you need to wear a mask. Going into those facilities, you need to wear a mask. All of those details are available, and I always will encourage us to be compassionate. There are people who do have health issues that are not protesting this, that can't wear a mask. And I would just ask that we are compassionate. You know, I try to wear my mask every time I'm in the store. If somebody doesn't have one on, I do see it, I recognize it. But I don't harass them, I don't give them funny looks. And I think if we all can do that, some of our folks who do have some health concerns will feel more comfortable being out. You know, many of them are already concerned about the pandemic as is, but the mask is just not something they can do. But for those who want to protest a lawful ordinance, you know, I get it, I'm an activist, but this isn't one of the things I would protest, but those numbers are not as high as the folks who are doing, following the mask order. We see those numbers coming down. We see them coming down because the majority of people are following the mask ordinance. So that is good news to me. Hopefully we continue to do so. And hopefully our numbers get down to the point where we can really recover from all of this. And I think last big thing since the last breakfast is the Century 2 petition was ruled invalid by the judge in court. And if you read it, it's a 47-page document, really highlights the technical pieces of that petition, why it was invalid, and why it was overarching. There was a lot of stories written about that, but it just came down to it was an administrative ordinance that was much more vast than the two facilities, really the one. One facility was named from the beginning, and that was Century 2. Later, the old library was added to that, and the way the ordinance was, or the petition was written, would have potentially impacted more than, I think, 100 city facilities or properties. And that wasn't the spirit that was communicated. But again, it's a 47-page document that is there. And I think the key to continue to highlight, even though some people say it's not true, is that the council was always committed to a public vote. We never said we were just going to do what we wanted to do. I know that sentiment and some of the distrust in government, I used to have it as well. But we always said a public vote. Legally, we would have had to anyway, specifically with the Riverfront master plan, because of the cost. We don't just have that type of money. There would have been a sales tax initiative attached to that at some point, which means you have to go out for a vote. We can't just raise taxes as a council. So, but we've always said it'd be a public vote. I know I always said I represented the city council on the Riverfront master plan. I always said there would be a public vote. Continued to say so. Now we've created a council policy that also says there will be a public vote. Some people took issue with the advisory, but again, legally, it had to be an advisory unless we attach a sales tax to it, then it can be binding. So that's kind of where we are. There is no effort right now to push that. We just see that the petition failed. We made our policy that if anything were to happen for Century 2 or the library, it would go out to a public vote. If we do start seeing any movement on anything, I'll let you know. I also did have someone reach out to me and ask me about that Penumbra press conference idea. So I haven't heard anything since then. Before then, I didn't hear anything. I don't know if there's any real effort to make that happen or not. We just haven't seen anything. So that's everything I know about Riverfront, Century 2, and the mask. Are there any questions other than that? If not, I guess the last thing is we should have some information in the coming weeks or months about some of the council direction at the last budget when we approved the budget. That was another one of those hot topics where we talked about law enforcement. As an update to you all, we highlighted that both groups essentially were saying some similar things. Once you get through some of the hashtags and just statements when people dug in, and that was everybody recognizes that law enforcement does a whole lot. In some areas, things that have just been thrown to them, unfortunately, over the years, like mental health and social work. That's what many of the protesters were saying. Some of the folks on the other side were kind of saying that same thing, that when you look at just everything that law enforcement does, it's a lot. So what we did do was talk about how we can partner with CompCare, how we can start developing a partnership with Wichita State School of Social Work, and start trying to get some different professionals to work with our police department. We've had, or the chief has had, I know, 1, maybe 2 meetings with CompCare. We have a meeting scheduled with WSU School of Social Work. And we've had on the restorative justice side, we've had one conversation with some of my colleagues in Durham, North Carolina, on their city council about an effort that they have going to look at really helping people in need, tickets, fines, stuff like that. So we've had one of those conversations, myself, Assistant City Manager Dante Martin. Really good talk. Looking forward to 2021 when these things can come together and we can do that for our city. But we are working through those things right now and keeping our word to make sure that we do that. As we get some more things solidified, we'll probably bring that to the council as a workshop, like I asked at the meeting, and then we can get more of that information out. But again, we're working on that and trying to make sure that we can do the best possible job here in the city of Wichita.
If I may, we'd like to announce that the DAB meeting this Monday, there are no zoning cases, but we do have 2 presentations. One presentation is from the Food Master Plan, and the other is talking about downtown conceptual streets. So the agenda is posted on the city's website and the Facebook page, kind of District 1 breakfast and updates yesterday. So you can go to those 2 different areas and check out the agenda. But please join us again virtually through Zoom or call in this coming Monday at 6 p.m.
Awesome. And that hits one of Jane's points earlier. We are taking speed limit stuff serious. So that will probably be a part of that discussion as well. So looking forward to that. I hope you all do tune in to the District Advisory Board meeting. As I told many folks who talk about decisions the city makes, tune into these meetings, even if it's 2 hours of me boring you with information and stuff, because that's the beginnings, sometimes the middle or ending of a decision. And if you give input at any point, it is heard and taken seriously. And these District Advisory Board meetings, when we talk about streetscapes, it won't catch you off guard when you see it in the paper because you saw it at the meeting first and you were able to give some input. So please tune in virtually. When we get back to a safe opportunity for in-person, definitely be there. And lastly, it probably surprised Camila because I haven't talked to her about it. I doubt we do any in-person breakfast through the rest of this year. I will reevaluate in January whether or not it's safe to bring everybody together. But I will tell you, when we get back together, because I like it, we will do it big. We'll have a really good breakfast. And Camila said she would cook, and I am excited about that, the biscuits and gravy and all of that stuff. But I'm looking forward to in-person again. But right now, it just seems like we should just keep it virtual through the rest of the year. So With that, thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next month. We'll have another fun-filled agenda for you all to tune in to. Hopefully I'll see you Monday night, and don't forget council meeting Tuesday, 9 a.m. Always tune in to those. So thanks for tuning in today.
We're going to end this session now. Thank you.